What I love about my friends and I is our sense of adventure. One of our favorite things to do is to find a new place to go and experience some new places and some new sights and do new things. Recently, we were doing exactly that. We had found a new town and we had been invited to a party later that night. So we were just kind of strolling through town, taking in the sights and sounds. You could smell food being cooked in the distance. You could hear people chatter about their day as they walked. You could even smell just the slightest hint of incoming rain. So we decide we're going to duck into a tavern. We're going to grab a bite to eat before the party. And as we're walking in, I see her, a young woman, maybe in her 30s. She's sitting off to the side on the curb, and she's crying. But she's not just crying, she's sobbing. Now, nobody's noticed her. Nobody's stopping, nothing. So my friends start walking into the tavern, and I instinctively walk over to her. I ask her, "Are you okay?" She looks up at me, and she says, "No. My son's missing. I need help." So I look over my shoulder into the tavern where my friends are walking in, about to eat dinner, and I think to myself, am I going to help this woman? What even happened? Can I trust her? Now, this story didn't make any news outlets. It wasn't on the local news. It wasn't on the national news. Nobody knew about it because it happened while sitting in my friend John's dining room while playing Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I know right now you're thinking that games have minimal significance in our lives, but today I'm here to challenge that. The most effective way to conquer our demons is to play our way to wellness. Now, we all have inner demons. They come in all shapes and sizes, and it could just be a simple perception in your mind. It could be an experience you had, but we all have them no matter who we are. And sometimes we do whatever we can to escape those demons. Now, here's an example. According to the World Health Organization, in 2015, 450,000 people died as a result of drug use. That's a staggering number. But if you're struggling with seeing it in your mind, that's actually 10 Yankee stadiums worth of people, filled to the brim. And of those 450,000 people, 160 of them were directly related to a diagnosed substance use disorder. And 118,000 were specific to opioids, an epidemic. So I know about this because I'm part of that statistic. I was raised in an alcoholic home, so I used anything I could to escape. And when I was a little girl, often that was fantasy books and role-playing games. My mother and father would fight, and I would retreat to my room and hide and read books and play games. But I would pretend that I was a strong warrior, fierce, that I could protect myself in some of the scariest moments of my life. But sooner or later, drugs and alcohol stopped working. Role-playing games stopped working, and I turned to drugs and alcohol. Got that backwards. So ultimately, that's where my story ended up. And after 10 long years, I was done fighting. I had started this battle with substances, and all I wanted to do was get better. So when I was 24, I got clean and sober. I stopped using substances to mask my inner demons, and I started playing D&D again. And that's when I realized how innovative it is. So Dungeons & Dragons has the ability to help people with things like communication skills, personality exploration, and any number of things that you can pretend and experience first before actually doing them. So take an example like this. You can be a character in D&D, and you can talk to a king or a queen. And you can parallel that into a job interview or speaking to a CEO. You can take the things that happen in the game and practice them. When I first got sober, I would practice being confident, a good speaker. I would practice all of these things, and the players that I was playing with had no idea that inside I was scared and confused, and I didn't really know what I was doing. Not only can it help us with communication skills and practicing, but I know that we've all had situations in our lives where we wish that we could sit down and practice something before it even happened. I know we've all had moments where we just recite things over and over and over again in our heads, right? One of the other reasons that D&D is so great is that it fosters a sense of community. So, I knew what D&D was doing for me. Dungeons & Dragons was changing my life, and I wanted to share it with people. So I get on social media, and I invite a number of female-identifying volunteers to play a very simple Dungeons & Dragons game with me. It was going to be based around communication and coping skills. And here are the women who volunteered. So, I have 7 women from all across Northeast Ohio who come to play D&D with me. And while the D&D game is what I suggest the most important part, the most beautiful part of what they've done happens in the group message that we're all a part of. So in their group message where they introduced each other, introduced their characters, they've started to foster a community, relationships. They're from all different backgrounds, all different people. And they all found something in Dungeons & Dragons. So this is a group of women who now invite each other to important milestones. They ask how people are doing. Hey, I remember you had this going on. Are you doing okay? It's easy in today's world to become isolated and distant. But sitting down face to face with people and playing a game like Dungeons & Dragons allows us to reconnect. We reconnect and foster community and healthy relationships. And we need more of those. One of my favorite parts of D&D is how much creativity you get to have with it. So you use your imagination, it fosters that creativity. So a character in D&D will come up to a seemingly impossible ravine. Now, what does that ravine symbolize for us? What are we trying to cross? What in our lives seems impossible? There are a million questions we can ask ourselves about adversity. And when we experience adversity, it's about exploring and creatively thinking about different solutions. Maybe I don't need to cross this ravine right now. Maybe I need to ask my group of friends, my fellow adventurers. Maybe they know how to cross this ravine. Or maybe we just do it. We can think of these things as parallels from the real world to a fantasy world. I know that I have ravines in my life, and sometimes it's as simple as thinking outside of the box for a solution. So, Dungeons & Dragons changes my life, it changes other people's lives, and it's beautiful, right? But we can't continue to look at our problems with a one-size-fits-all solution. We all need to be using our imagination and creativity and thinking outside the box to utilize things that are as innovative as Dungeons and Dragons. So, this is where I'm inviting everyone on my next quest to change the world, one Dungeons and Dragons game at a time. Are you guys ready to battle your inner demons? It's as easy as a roll of the dice. Thank you.